you giving me the finger?
What?
What's your problem?
What?
Why are you giving me the finger?
The video shows an officer driving a car, but suddenly he stops because of a teen who showed him the middle finger. So what did he do actually? Why did the boy take part in such behavior? Stay tuned to the video till the end to find out.
Why are you giving me the finger? What's your problem?
Am I free to go?
No.
What, do you have a problem?
No.
Do you have a problem?
No.
You don't have a problem, then I can leave.
Why are you giving me the finger when you're walking?
The officer gets out of the car and asks the boy exactly what is his problem. Why are you giving me the middle finger? But the boy does not react directly and instead asks whether he is free to leave. The officer refuses to let him go and questions him again about why he gave him the middle finger.
Huh? Come here. Get over here.
What?
Get over here.
Is that a lawful order?
Yeah.
For what reason?
Because you're giving me the finger.
The cop asks the boy again to come over. The boy asks him if it is a legal order, but he doesn't understand why. The officer then tells him that it is against the law for him to give the officer the finger, but the boy says that's not true. According to the law, Mr. Walker's use of the middle finger was protected speech, and he could not be arrested for making the gesture at corporal pitch.
Whatever. What?
You heard me. What,
Come here.
I'm afraid of you?
Come here. Get over here.
What?
Get over here.
The officer lets him go, but as the boy walks off, he again says something disrespectful to the officer.
Get over here.
I'm not doing anything illegal.
Yeah, you are. You just cursed me off.
That's not a crime.
Yes, it is.
The cop tells the boy to come over here when he calls him back. The boy then says, I'm not breaking the law, but the cop says it is against the law because he cursed at him. The argument between the boy and the officer carries on until this happened.
Help!
No help.
Help! Help!
No.
Help!
When Mr. Walker begins screaming for help, the officer grabs him and puts his hands behind his back. Corporal Pritch turns his body-worn camera off and doesn't turn it back on until backup comes. It is obvious that the officer's actions, including turning off the body-worn camera, violated both state law and the Attorney General's policy.
It is legal. He's allowed to detain you until he performs his investigation.
So what am I doing though? What am I doing that made him detain me? What legal right?
Every time I rode by him twice, he shot me the finger. So I turned around and say, "Well, you're
Is that a crime?"
problem?"
The other officer arrives and says it's legal to detain the boy, but the boy is still arguing that it is not a crime. So the first officer explains that he has shown the middle finger twice.
He's looking at you because he's like, "What the fuck you want me to do?" Because it's not a crime. I know my rights.
Who are you?
I don't have to say any of that.
You do if you're being detained.
For what reason?
The boy then asks the officers who have just come, what's the legal reason I'm being held? Where is this coming from? And what's the legal reason? Michael James LaMontagne arrives on the scene and informs the boy is required to identify himself because he is being detained despite the fact that he cannot provide a legal justification for the detention. However, New Jersey lacks a stop and identify statute that specifically requires Mr. Walker to identify himself, and courts have determined that New Jersey's obstruction statute cannot be applied to individuals who refuse to identify themselves to police.
Why are you
Shooting me the finger.
Why are you?
Is that illegal?
Why are you
Cursing at
flipping the bird? Yes, it is. When you are cursing in public, you are causing a public disturbance. You're being a nuisance to the public.
The second officer asserts that the boy must identify himself. The officer goes on to explain that it is forbidden to curse in public because you're causing a public disturbance and being a nuisance to the public. In what way? When he was driving by. It's called calls from a public disturbance, and it doesn't mean you've been charged with anything. You're being detained at that point.
What reason does he need to detain me?
He thought maybe you thought you were signaling him down. Were you
I was.
signaling to him?
No,
Listen, I was
no,
just-
you knew very well that I wasn't signaling to you, right? I wasn't signaling
Well,
to you.
you bring attention to yourself.
That's not signaling.
Your action's strange. I'm making sure you're okay.
Dude, that's so funny. Like, you're not here for my safety. You're not trying to protect
How
me.
do you know?
You're walking
may
on the
be-
side of the road and you're cursing and you're flipping the bird.
The boy asks again for what reason he's being detained, and they all start arguing.
Do you know him? Do you know him?
It's not your business. I
It is
plead
my
the fifth.
business.
I plead the fifth then.
It's
What's
the
the
public
First
law.
Amendment for?
Okay. The First Amendment is for your freedom of speech. Okay.
Okay.
What does that have to do with
Was I
using
making a call to
gestures?
action? Am I calling for an action to be done against you?
Do
No.
you understand
You're
that it
bringing
is?
attention to
Listen,
yourself and
listen,
get
listen, listen.
That's not legal.
It's.
The boy asks for his First Amendment, and the officer explains it.
So
Well, I
legally,
would-
you need to hold anything in court.
Well, I want to know from your perspective.
I
What was I
pulled up
doing?
onto the scene, so you tell me what you were doing.
To bring your attention to
I
yourself.
plead the fifth. You idiot. How long have you been a cop, Chris?
Longer than you.
Listen,
Longer than you, I'm not a cop.
I don't understand what the point of this is.
The boy asks for the perspective of another cop.
Now what happens?
He just admitted that
now
he was
what
going
happens
to arrest
is when
me.
he gives you a lawful order to stop, and you do
It
not
wasn't
stop,
a lawful order, though.
and you do not stop.
It legally was not a lawful
and you
order.
do not stop, then that becomes a criminal offense, and then yes, you can be put under
But
arrest.
it's not a lawful order. Then I take it to court, and then he'd get sued, and I get
Maybe.
punitive damages. I'd be rich. Is that what you want?
That
You don't know the law,
may be
buddy.
what happens.
You don't know
if
the
you
law.
think that's going to happen.
The boy laughs at what the officer says and then says he just admitted he gives you a lawful order to stop and you don't do it. It wasn't all Florida, though, and you do it legally. That becomes a criminal offense, and then yes, you can be put under, but it's not a lawful order. Then I take it to court, and then he gets sued, and I get millions in damages. I'd be rich, is what you wanted. The officer stated that the Fourth Amendment was not violated in this case since no seizure happened. Mr. Walker, the boy, was not arrested. However, as the Supreme Court explained in the infamous 1968 decision of Terry v. Ohio, the Fourth Amendment guarantees the right of the people to be safe in their persons, homes, papers, or belongings against unreasonable searches and seizures. However, it is clear that Mr. Walker was captured when Corporal Pritch, the officer, made physical contact with him in order to prevent him from fleeing. However, it is also quite likely that a judge would determine that Mr. Walker was detained for Fourth Amendment purposes when Corporal Pritch first ordered him to stop and he accepted.
That may be what's going to happen. It may not be what happens. Okay?
Okay, I
what may
understand.
happen is
All right, so
is
what
you
are we
may get a
wasting time
normal
for?
jury.
Am I free to go?
What
Am
may
I free to
happen
go?
is you may get
Am I
a
free to
normal
go?
jury. No, because at this point
For what reason?
you were detained. Okay, because he told you to stop
Okay.
and you didn't stop.
Okay.
So therefore, you need to identify yourself as a part of the investigation. So what is your name?
Okay, I'm gonna need all of your badge numbers.
I will give you everything written down on a card. What is your
I
name?
can give you.
If you have an ID, that's perfect.
Am I okay? I'll take it to court
If you have
because
an
this
ID,
is
that's
still a detainment.
Are you a juvenile?
This is an illegal detainment,
Are
so
you
I
a
can still.
juvenile?
I'm not going to answer that.
The teenager asks if he is free to leave, but the officer says no because he is detained. He must identify himself as a participant in the investigation. The boy becomes more aware of his surroundings and informs them that he intends to take off all the badge numbers. The officer responds that everything will be written down on a card, but the boy believes it is still entertaining.
Okay?
Well, I'm going to
And
take
you
a
can do
lawsuit.
that.
So who would I press criminal charges against? For what?
You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to
police
call.
officers.
You're gonna have to call and figure that out with a lawyer. You would have to file a complaint with the courts.
Got it.
Okay, and then you can go from there if you want to see if you can press charges and whatnot if you
Perfect.
violated your rights.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, am I free to go?
Don't give us fingers.
Shut the f up.
Stay out of the roadway. Stop causing a public alarm.
Dude, shut the f up. Am I
Stop
free to go?
cursing, okay?
Well, I'm going to
Then
take
you
a
can do
lawsuit.
that.
So who would I press criminal charges against? For what?
You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to
police
call.
officers.
You're gonna have to call and figure that out with a lawyer.
The boy asks the lawyer to prove them wrong legally about how he was making a disturbance. The officer tells him that for further investigation, he'll have to call and talk to a lawyer about that. If your rights have been violated, you have to make a complaint with the courts. From there, you can decide if you want to press charges or do other things.
Am I
You're free to go.
Stop cursing. Go.
You're free to.
When the officers let him go free, Mr. Walker left from there without causing any further incident. After the incident, less information was known, so we don't know what they did as per the investigation.